Gateway Fellowship Church. This week, as we look to enhance our vision to connect with people, to grow spiritually, to serve the world, I want to ask you to prayerfully and thoughtfully consider our church community by making no assumptions. I want to share with you what I mean by that. First, I want to start by reading to you out of Acts chapter 2, verses 42 through 47. I'm going to highlight a couple of verses here. Starting in verse 42. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teachings and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together, and here it is, and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone in need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. In a season of isolation and social distancing, I'd like to ask ourselves three questions. Number one, how can we be together if we don't attempt simple, creative, and flexible solutions to reach out to each other? Number two, how can we have anything in common if we don't know what we have that is uncommon in our lives? Many of us are in different seasons right now. And we won't know that if we don't share our lives together. And number three, how can we give to anybody who has needs unless we know what those needs are? This means some of us will need to ask for help, and others need to start setting aside provisions to care for those who need your help. I believe the best approach to answering these three questions I asked are to, number one, don't assume people have been reached out to and are in contact with the rest of the church family. Number two, don't assume your problems are their problems and their problems are your problems. Share your lives together. Be honest and vulnerable. And number three, don't assume their finances haven't been affected, that they have enough food, supplies, or friends or families helping them out. That's what I mean by don't make assumptions. So here's what I want you to do. Take some time to write this down and go through our church directory to consider who you might contact to answer these three questions I have proposed. With social distancing from friends, home isolation from your community, the chaos of distant learning for schooling and work for many, grandparents who can't spend time with their extended families, with these things in your mind, take a moment to think about how all of this affects the many people who make up the body of Gateway Fellowship Church. And as you go through the church directory, look for these people I'm going to share with you. Single people who live alone, dating and engaged couples, single mom and dads, and all the extra effort they have to put in to care for their family and their jobs all at the same time without a spouse who supports them. Elderly people who are at high risk and have been forgotten about or even abandoned by some family members or friends or their caretakers. Think of the junior high and senior high students who don't get to celebrate graduation services. College students who have had to move back into home and learn how to do school in a complicated way. Think of all the birthday and anniversary celebrations that have been canceled, the baby and bridal showers that are lost, the weddings that have been put on hold, the people who have had employment cuts to their hours at work, compensation that has been lowered or even fully lost. And the many children who are home all day not knowing if or when they will get back to school. Think of all the kindergarten children who don't get to go outside to play at the park anymore, or to climb around on the playground sets provided. What is it like to be any of these people? Family, that's not impossible to know. We can stop assuming and start asking, how are you doing? How can we have something in common with one another? And what are some needs that you have that we can start meeting today? So again, I encourage you to think about these people in this season of isolation and social distancing. Open up the church directory. Look through the many different families and faces and names. Send out a text message. Compose an email. Better yet, pick up the phone and make a phone call and have direct contact with somebody and ask them these questions. How can I connect, grow, and serve with you in this season so that our vision can stay alive of making disciples that make disciples, that continue to plant churches and support missions globally until Jesus returns?